Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I think we'll do a different text than what I may have indicated. We'll look at 3rd Canto, Chapter 2, Remembrance of Lord Krishna, text 32. Give you time to find it on your devices. Canto 3, Chapter 2, text 32. This is a chapter entitled Remembrance of Lord Krishna. Sometimes it's difficult for us to appreciate how powerful remembrance of Krishna is. So this chapter in the 3rd canto, although it's not the 10th canto, is priming the situation, instigating the situation, setting up the situation for future immersion in Krishna's glories that you'll find in the 10th canto. Of course, the 10th canto, you have what Srila Prabhupada called a summary study. That's the Krishna book. Because Srila Prabhupada was not sure he would remain in this world to start, or what to speak of, finish the 10th canto. So therefore, he wrote the Krishna book, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which has all the 90 chapters of the 10th canto, but summarized. So in Krishna book, what do you find? Who can say? What's your analysis of the Krishna book? Anyone? Dina Palika? Pastimes, yes. Yes, pastimes interwoven with philosophy, with tattva. So you have Leela interwoven with tattva. Because if you just give Leela to the general public, they'll think Krishna's an ordinary person. These are fairy tales. I don't know what you all thought when you first opened Krishna book. Thought it was like Disneyland or something. Anyone remember? What? Why is there so much emphasis on bigger than life? Anyone else? When you first read Krishna book, what were you thinking? So he is thinking, how can the Supreme Personality of Godhead be so mischievous? But mischief has to have a source. Just like romance has to have a source, fighting has to have a source. So also mischief. Otherwise, does mischief just appear out of nowhere? So Krishna is the perfection of mischief. So without the tattva, the scientific philosophy, many people become bewildered and think Krishna is just an ordinary person, or his activities are just mythological. So in Krishna book, you find Srila Prabhupada has interwoven the philosophy, the tattva, with the Leela, the pastimes. Now, if you take Srila Prabhupada's presentation of his relationship with Krishna book, then you meditate on his statement several times that he didn't write the book. How could that be? He didn't write the book? Isn't he the author? But he said, Krishna wrote the book. So this is the specialty of transcendental literature. It's transcendental because the author is empowered by Krishna, used by Krishna to compile such astonishing literature. When I first read Krishna book, I thought, no human being can make this up. It's just beyond the capacity of the human intellect to fabricate such literature. So what was Prabhupada's instruction to devotees how to read Krishna book? Who may know? Because throughout Krishna book, there are astonishing incidents, astonishing numbers. King Ugrasena of Mathura having zillions of bodyguards. To appreciate that, you have to understand how the Dham, Mathura Dham, Vrindavan Dham, Dwarka Dham, they're always expanding. How can you appreciate that with material intelligence bound by time and space? How can you deal with a reality that's ever increasing? So with your material intelligence, you would think there's a fixed number of persons and a fixed amount of space. But that's not how the transcendental energy works. How can Krishna marry 16,000 wives? Immediately you think, well, it's hard enough handling one wife for 16,000? Impossible. So you think some problem here. Doesn't make sense. Or maybe like what people say about mythology when they're trying to be favorable to it. They're myths, but they have instructive purpose. That's considered a step up from just dismissing the myths as primitive and barbaric. Now, if you're a progressive, you say the myths have instructive value. So Srila Prabhupada's instruction about Krishna book was simply read it and enjoy. That's something we can relate to. The instruction to enjoy, yes? Read it and enjoy, rather than try to dissect all the minute inconceivabilities. Read it and enjoy. Just soak up the flavors, soak up the leelas, which are couched in tattva, so you don't make the mistake of thinking they're just ordinary material activities. I remember when I started reading Krishna book, as I said, I thought this is beyond the capacity of a human being to make up. So I remember I showed the Krishna book to one of my friends. And in the front of the Krishna book, there was a page that simply said, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the Supreme Enjoyer. More specifically, it said, Krishna is the Supreme Enjoyer, right on one of the blank front pages, except for those words. So I showed the book to one of my friends, because I thought, some of my friends will appreciate. She opened the book and saw that page right in the beginning. Krishna, the Supreme Enjoyer. Like, that's my job. That's my job description. That's my career. That's what I'm born for, to be the enjoyer. Who is this Krishna? I could tell you more stories. No, I won't tell. So remembrance of Krishna is no small thing. You might think in material life, remembrance is nothing noteworthy. It's kind of just comes and goes. Yeah, I remember this. Do you remember that? Maybe with your family, you have memory lane sessions where you go down memory lane. Do you remember this? And do you remember that? Generally on holiday gatherings, you do like that. Of course, these days, families are so fractured. Divorce, remarry, divorce, remarry. So for a family gathering, you don't know who's going to show up with who. But back when society was more traditional in terms of family stability, gathering and remembering was very important. Looking at the photos of weddings, looking at the photos of children, and then comparing to what they look like as adults. But as society fractures, as the social fabric of society disintegrates, memories are harder and harder to come by in terms of lasting relationships. So since that is happening, when you think of memories of Krishna, you may consider, what's the big deal? You may remember, you may not. But remembrance of Lord Krishna is everything. It's much easier to remember Krishna when you recognize everything as his energy. So Bhagavad Gita is teaching you how to see everything as the energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore, when you look at some item of the material world and you think this is meant for Krishna's pleasure, that's remembering Krishna. The common example the acharyas always give. Let's say a mother has a baby and the baby has shoes. If the mother just sees the shoes of the baby, she remembers the baby. These are my beloved baby's shoes. Looking at something and remembering to whom it's connected is an essential part of life. But it's difficult for us to do that in the material world, in material illusion, because we want to be the proprietor. We don't want the real proprietor showing up. We want to look at something and think, what? This is mine. This is meant for me. There's no proprietor, no controller, no owner. It's all for my taking, for my manipulation and exploitation of the material energy. And this mentality, forgetting the proprietor, causes so many problems. Ecological, political, economic. So therefore, when you read Sri Upanishad, you're first advised that everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ishavasham idam sarvam. Ishopanishad means the Upanishad, the knowledge that is bringing you closer to understanding who is the Isha, who is a supreme controller, who is a supreme proprietor. Without that basic knowledge, you're a thief, fit to be punished by material nature. And thieves lead very stressful lives. Sooner or later, they're caught. Even if they're not apprehended by law enforcement, the karma is there. So remembrance of Krishna becomes more possible when you see everything in relation to Krishna. So Krishna teaches you this. The beginnings of remembrance, the art of remembering Krishna, is taught in Bhagavad Gita. Rasaham apsukonteya. Krishna says, I'm the taste of water. So when you drink water, you're thinking, Krishna's the taste. You might think, oh, that's just so elementary. That's just so infantile. But Bhagavad Gita is the undergraduate text, preparing you for Srimad Bhagavatam, the graduate text. And then there's Chaitanya Charitamrita, the postgraduate text. So step by step, your immersion in remembrance of Krishna increases, especially if you take Krishna's instructions seriously. Otherwise, why is Krishna, is he just wasting your time saying, I'm the taste and water, Prabhashmi, Shashi Surya, I'm the light of the sun and the moon? Is he just speaking poetry? No, he's giving you handles so that you can come to grips with how everything belongs to Krishna. And everything belonging to Krishna, yes, can be engaged in Krishna's service. Or put another way, when you engage something in Krishna's service, you remember this belongs to Krishna. So when Krishna describes his opulences in the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he's just taking leaders of every category, leading things, leading persons. Of this I am that, of that I am this. It's not that those lists of opulences are, that's it for Krishna. No, as he says at the end of the chapter, he tells Arjuna, actually, what's the use of my naming this and naming that? Everything is sustained by just a fragment of me, by the supersoul present in every atom and in the core of every being. There's one verse in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam where Krishna is talking to Uddhava, and he says that he himself, Krishna, can count easily all the atoms in all the universes because he's inside every atom. As far as we're concerned, there's an unlimited number of universes because we can't count them. There is a limit, but we say unlimited because we can't count them. But Krishna says he can count all the universes. He can even count all the atoms in the unlimited universes. But he himself cannot calculate the extent of his opulences in each universe because they're always expanding. So he can know them, his opulences, but the opulences then expand, and Krishna can know, and then they expand. This is the dynamics of the spiritual energy. So our point is that the more you understand everything belongs to Krishna and act in that way, the more you can remember Krishna. But if you're a thief, who are the last persons you want to see if you're a thief? Huh? We don't have any thieves here, but huh? The last person you want to see if you're a thief is the police. You don't want them around. Similarly, you don't want Krishna's law enforcement, laws of nature, law enforcement personalities like Yamaraj. You don't want to see them. In order to be a happy thief, you'd like to imagine, no one can see me. I'm getting away with this. I remember one story two persons told me in Australia. One person. He was Australian in Sydney, and he and his girlfriend were having a wonderful time robbing stores. He would walk into the store, demand the money, She would be waiting outside in the getaway car. Sounds like a great way to them for having romance. Sounds like something out of the movies, doesn't it? Yeah. So they were doing that shop after shop successfully. They thought, wow, our whole life is set. We could just do this all our life. We'll never get caught. They had it down to a science. But this is before there were video cameras everywhere. So one time they went to a store, and this store evidently was on the cutting edge back then of technology. It had a video camera, and they weren't ready for that latest advancement in technology. And so they thought they made a clean getaway. And so they were at home, and there's a banging on the door, boom, boom, boom. They open the door, it's the police. We're coming to arrest you because you've robbed at least one store. And he said, what do you mean? I didn't do anything. We're innocent. Who's saying such a thing? And the police said, look, we have a video recording. Oh, the guy said, I forgot about that. So then he was in court. No, he was waiting for his trial. He was out on bail. And again, banging on his door. And it was the police. And he told them, what do you want out of me? You already made charges against me for robbing stores. What do you want now? The police said, we have witnesses that you've been what they call home invasion. What do they call it here? When you bust into someone's house right when they're there, that's still called burglary. So in Australia, they call it. We're just not expert in these things. We have proof that you've done a home invasion. And he sincerely told the police, I don't remember that. We have photographic evidence. They pulled it out. Take a look at this. They pulled out a photograph of you doing a home invasion. And he sincerely told them, but I forgot about all that. So you may forget the bad karma you do, but the laws of nature remember. He was sincere. I forgot about all that. I don't remember doing that. He has done so many crimes, he couldn't remember. But I did that. He was sincere, telling the police, I don't remember. Anyway, that was the end of his good times. He was put in prison, and his girlfriend, of course, promised, I'll be waiting for you when you come out. A few months later, he checked his bank account and it was all empty. The girlfriend's gone, the money's gone. Life and material existence. But thieves. But how are we any better if we're not recognizing that everything belongs to Krishna? And that means we use everything in Krishna's service. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is giving you a way to see the whole world as belonging to him. He lists so many things. That doesn't mean those are the only things that belong to him, that relate to him, but he's just giving you handles so you can get a grip on the situation. He even says, what? Dharma varudo bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. I am procreation according to Dharma. This is how inclusive bhakti is. I remember once in a lecture, Prabhupada was explaining this verse. Dharma varudo bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. Krishna says he is the procreative act according to Dharma. That means you can see Krishna in this way. All the brahmacharis were blessing that. But Prabhupada was insistent that everything Krishna says is fact and not to be just dismissed. So even this, you can see Krishna like this. So the whole point is to make progress in remembering Krishna. But that's impossible unless we recognize Krishna as the proprietor. So therefore, the Ishopanishad is teaching you the supreme proprietor, the reality of the supreme proprietor. Ishavashamidam sarvam. Everyone is entitled to a slice of material nature sufficient and what's necessary for supporting their spiritual advancement. Otherwise, no rights, no claims. You have a right to maintain yourself in the minimum way as you make spiritual advancement. You are entitled to the amount of the material energy you need to maintain yourself simply and minimally. You take more than that, and you're punished by the laws of nature. So this is the real peace formula. So now we'll go to the remembrances of Lord Krishna. Within Vrindavan, the next chapter talks about the remembrance of Krishna outside of Vrindavan. But right now we're focusing on being in Vrindavan. You have verse on your devices, who some of you? Canto 3, Chapter 2, Text 32. Ayajaya Gosavena Goparajam Dritotamai Vitasya Chodubharasya Chikirshan Sadvayam Vibhu. Anyone want to chant? Anyone else? No men have a device that can chant? Anil? Jivapati, are you chanting Sanskrit yet? Okay, give it a go. Ayajayat, made to perform. Gosavena, by worship of the cows. Goparajam, the king of the cowherds. Dvija Uttamai, by the learned brahmanas. Vittasya, of the wealth. Cha, also. Urubarasya, great opulence. Chakir Shan, desiring to act. Satvayam, proper utilization. Vibhu, the great. Translation: the Supreme Lord Krishna desired to utilize the opulent financial strength of Maharaj Nanda for worship of the cows, and he also wanted to give a lesson to Indra, the king of heaven. Thus he advised his father to perform worship of Go, or the pasturing land and the cows, with the help of learned brahmanas. Purport: since he is the teacher of everyone, the Lord also taught his father, Nanda Maharaj. Nanda Maharaj was a well-to-do landholder and owner of many cows, and as was the custom, he used to perform yearly worship of Indra, the king of heaven, with great opulence. This worship of demigods by the general populace is also advised in the Vedic literature, just so people can accept the superior power of the Lord. The demigods are servants of the Lord, deputed to look after the management of various activities of universal affairs. Therefore, it is advised in the Vedic scriptures that one should perform yajnas to appease the demigods. But one who is devoted to the Supreme Lord has no need to appease the demigods. Worship of the demigods by common people is an arrangement for acknowledging the supremacy of the Supreme Lord, but it is not necessary. Such appeasement is generally recommended for material gains only. As we have already discussed in the second canto of this literature, one who admits the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not need to worship the secondary demigods. Sometimes, being worshipped and adored by less intelligent living beings, the demigods become puffed up with power and forget the supremacy of the Lord. This happened when Lord Krishna was present in the universe, and thus the Lord wanted to give a lesson to the king of heaven, Indra. He therefore asked Maharaja Nanda to stop the sacrifice offered to Indra and to use the money properly by performing a ceremony worshiping the cows and the pasturing ground on the hill of Govardhan. By this act, Lord Krishna taught human society, as he has instructed in the Bhagavad Gita also, that one should worship the Supreme Lord by all acts and by all their results. That will bring about the desired success. The Vaishyas are specifically advised to give protection to the cows and their pasturing ground or agricultural land, instead of squandering their hard-earned money. That will satisfy the Lord. The perfection of one's occupational duty, whether in the sphere of duty to oneself, one's community, or one's nation, is judged by the degree to which the Lord is satisfied. Translation again. The Supreme Lord, Krishna, desired to utilize the opulent financial strength of Maharaj Nanda for worship of the cows, and also he wanted to give a lesson to Indra, the king of heaven. Thus he advised his father to perform worship of Go, or the pasturing land and the cows, with the help of learned brahmanas. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Sivasati Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. So first of all, the Supreme Lord Krishna desired. Why should the Supreme Personality of Godhead have desires? But that is part of being the Supreme Enjoyer. Do you ever wonder, why is it you have desires? Where do they come from? You can just say desires come from the hormones or come from your genetic background. However you want to speculate. But Bhagavatam is teaching you about the supreme desire, the source of all desires. Just like we were speaking of Krishna's number of wives in Dwarka Dham, 16,108. So you may want to criticize Krishna. Why? Krishna has so many wives. Is Krishna that lusty? But then we must be more accurate in our accusation. Your question should be, if Krishna is indeed lusty, he must be unlimitedly lusty. You have to frame your criticism properly. So the question you should ask is, what? He has 16,108 wives? Why only 16,108? His energy is always expanding. He's always expanding. Why did he stop at 16,108? That should be the question. But because we're envious, who could have 16,108 wives in 16,108 palaces? And each one's thinking, Krishna's only with me. So yes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has desires. Once we get over our contamination of impersonalism, then we can better understand. Persons have desires, the Supreme Person has desires. But what is the success rate of Krishna's desires? And what is the success rate of our desires? What do you think? What's the success rate of our desires? We have to work so hard to try to fulfill one desire, and often it doesn't happen due to our karma. The fulfillment of our material desires is limited by our karma. You can't get more fulfillment than your karma dictates. So because we are failures at desiring, we think, how can Krishna have desires? Better make the Supreme Absolute Truth impersonal. No personality, no desires, no qualities, no activities, no forms. Because all of that I have experienced is problematic. So Krishna's pastimes introduce you to the Supreme Desire. That's why in bhakti, we don't try to kill desires. We engage those desires in devotional service. If you want to fight hand-to-hand combat with material desires, you'll always lose. You have to connect them to Krishna for Krishna's pleasure, and then the desires are purified. But to take on material desire face-to-face, hand-to-hand, is a losing battle. You convert those desires into something higher by engaging those desires in Krishna's service. That's karma yoga. You're attached to acting in a certain way, but you offer the results to Krishna. And full bhakti means you offer the results to Krishna and also the endeavor. You want to endeavor the way Krishna wants you to endeavor, not simply give him the results. But as we often explain, most persons, most devotees should look up to karma yoga, not down. You're attached to acting in a certain way. You offer the results to Krishna. And go on with your attachment to acting in a certain way. But you recognize who's the proprietor and who is the enjoyer of the results. So what is special about Krishna's desiring? He has a characteristic called Swaraja Lakshmi. This is explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that the Supreme Desirer is independent in fulfilling his desires, and he has unlimited desires and the unlimited capacity to satisfy every one of his infinite desires. That is how you can explain Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yes, he's Sadaishvarya Purna. He's full of all six opulences, infinitely full of wealth, strength, fame, knowledge, renunciation, beauty. But you can also explain Krishna's supremacy in another way. But first you can tell persons, he's Bhagavan, the possessor of unlimited opulence. Who do you know who has even one of these six opulences unlimitedly? You don't know anyone like that. Therefore you can, as Prabhupada writes in the beginning of Krishna book, you can firmly declare there's never been and there never will be a person in human society like Krishna. Krishna has no equal and no one is greater than him. So yes, you can present Krishna as the possessor of all opulences unlimitedly, but you can also come at the situation, the explanation another way. Krishna is a supreme in desirer. He has unlimited desires and the unlimited ability to satisfy every one of his unlimited desires. This is inconceivable for us. Unlimited desires? I often point out, how many desires can you have that you can count? Who wants to volunteer? Okay, name 50. Name them. Radha Sharanath, how many desires can you name? Start counting. Number 1. Have money, okay. 4 or 5. Money, a new home, friends, family, travel. She's already running out of steam. She's out there. She's just reached 5. So how can you conceive of Krishna who has infinite desires? And what do you have to do? You name 5 things: money, home, friends, what else? Family, travel, and just see how you have to struggle to fulfill even one of those. Working hard and anxiety. Will I be laid off? Will AI take my job? Will I have a family? Who are my friends? Do I have enough money to travel? I'd like to see Georgetown in Malaysia again. Will I ever see that? Do you go there? Now Thailand and Cambodia are having a war. Will it affect Malaysia? And always such anxieties. Just for fulfilling one desire, which you, if you're successful, you can only do it partially. And then think of Krishna, infinite desires, and the infinite ability to fulfill all those desires. That is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So yes, the Supreme Lord, Krishna, desired to utilize the opulent financial strength of Maharaj Nanda. So at that point, Krishna's a little boy, and you shouldn't take a little boy so seriously. So Nanda Maharaj was trying to be kind about that to his son, when his son said, take all the opulence designated for worshiping Indra, and use it to worship Govardhan Hill. Nanda Maharaj couldn't take that so seriously at first. He just thought, Krishna doesn't understand. My little boy doesn't understand. Every year we do this ritual because our livelihood depends on rain. The rains come, the grass grows, the cows eat the grass, and then we have prosperity. So therefore, because Indra is in charge of the rains, we do Indra Puja. And what was Krishna's response? One of his responses: Father, it also rains on the ocean, and the ocean doesn't do any puja. The rain depends on karma. Karma is the ultimate. Krishna is speaking karmavad. That karma by itself is the sole determinant. Of course, you know that's not true. That's why Krishna at the end of Bhagavad Gita says, surrender to me and I'll take care of your karma. Don't worry. Ma suchaha. Krishna is the only one who can say, no worries. Do this and there'll be no worries. Otherwise, an intelligent person is concerned about his or her karma. So little Krishna wants to make sure to put Indra in his place. Indra's very proud, and he thought, what is this? Who is proposing that my puja is neglected? Later, after the whole Govardhan Hill lifting incident is over and Indra comes to beg forgiveness, what did he say to Krishna? I thought that you were trying to take my share of the yajna. Paranoia. We often have that. If I give to Krishna, where's my share? So Krishna had proposed to Maharaj Nanda. everything has to be used for worshiping Govardhan Hill. Because remember, Maharaj Nanda said, okay, we'll take some to offer to Indra, as we do every year, and we'll use some for worshiping Govardhan Hill. And what was Krishna's response? Who remembers? Our friends from Charlotte, you remember? It's good, you're thinking about it. You're remembering Krishna. Do you remember? Krishna said, no, Father. In order to please Govardhan Hill, we have to take all the sacrificial materials. So in this way, Krishna is teaching a lesson to Indra. Another point in this purport is we're being taught that there is a hierarchy of consciousness in the universe. Different life forms have different levels of consciousness. Just like you have an electric light bulb, and over it can be a lampshade. Who has a lampshade in their home? Yes. The lampshades can be of different, ability to block the light or convey the light. So bodies are like that. Each body, I talk about this in Searching for Vedic India, each body has a different capacity for allowing the manifestation of consciousness. Just like lampshades differ in opaqueness or translucency, transparency. So in the hierarchy of cosmic consciousness, generally we say the human beings are the ultimate as compared to insects, birds, reptiles, fish, vegetation like trees. But actually the exception to that are the demigods, the devatas. They have more highly developed consciousness than human beings. And they control the functions of material nature. They're like department heads. What do you call them in the corporate world? Leads? Huh? Director. No, of a particular department. Directors? Huh? So the devatas are leads. They're in charge of a particular function of material nature. But we don't acknowledge anyone in charge. We want to be in charge. That is our problem. We want to be the controllers, the proprietors, and the enjoyers. We think that's the peace strategy. It's all mine to use my way. And look at the result. So much stress, anxiety, disturbances, natural disturbances, political disturbances, economic disturbances. So Krishna, he's about 7 years old at the time of the Govardhan Leela. He's wanting to establish that at least in Vrindavan, there's pure devotional service. There's no deviation. At least in Vrindavan. So therefore I'm going to teach. He said, I'm going to teach Indra a lesson. So again, if we want to remember Krishna, we have to first recognize that everything is the energy of Krishna. With a thieving mentality, our remembrance of Krishna will be crippled. Just like if you're a thief, you don't want to see any police, you don't want to see the real owner. That's why you go, generally you do a burglary when the owner is not around, you hope. So we must accept that our status in the material world is that of thieves. We want to appropriate and exploit for our own program of control and enjoyment. Fulfilling our desires. And then when the reaction comes, what do we say? Just like that couple in Sydney, Australia. I don't remember that. Why is this happening? All right, any questions? You have to move forward because I'm having a hard time hearing you. Is, can someone repeat, please? I heard the first sentence. The acoustics here are not so good, are they? Is karma yoga performed? Karma yoga means you're attached to acting in a certain way, but you give the results to Krishna. Full bhakti means you're not attached to the results and you're not attached to the way you're acting. Everything, whatever Krishna wants, however Krishna wants it. But as I said, most persons should look up to karma yoga, not down at it. Just like the example I often give in the early days of the Hare Krishna movement in the early 70s. So many young men would come forward to assist Srila Prabhupada to join the mission, and they generally, 50% of them would have a guitar strapped to their back along with their backpack. Because each one was thinking, I'm going to do what George Harrison has done. I'm a musician. I'm just on the verge of world fame and success. I'll do it all for Krishna. So how is the temple supposed to operate with an ashram full of guitar players? Other services have to be done. But if everyone's insisting, I'm just on the verge of world fame, just let me play my guitar for Krishna, how's everything going to go on? So often we may try in management to match services to someone's propensity. Sometimes you have to do what is not what you thought is the way you'd be serving Krishna. Sometimes. But generally it's best that persons act according to their propensity in service to Krishna. Because most persons are not on the level of full-on bhakti. Pure love, whatever you want, however you want it. Generally, it's whatever you want, however I want it. We think, well, that's great, that's really spiritual. I'm giving the results to Krishna from my doing what I want to do. I want a new car, but I'll use it to take the Swami to the temple. That's karma yoga. But most persons will be happy if most persons would do that. I want a husband or a wife, but we'll use Krishna's service as the center. That's karma yoga. Nothing wrong with it. And through performing karma yoga, you become purified, and then you can start to appreciate better pure bhakti. Okay? You have to come forward, sorry. Even though you speak so loud. Anyone else while you're thinking? Is it impersonal to force yourself to hear about Krishna? That's the real desire of the real you, to hear about Krishna and remember Krishna. That's the real desire of the real you. Artificial life means I don't want to hear about Krishna. I want to hear about me, what I want, my desires, my program. That's artificial. But because we're in illusion, we think that's natural. And hearing about Krishna, we think, is an imposition. But actually, the material illusion is the imposition. So look at it this way. There are two phases of bhakti. There's the therapeutic phase and the relishing phase. So when you're in the therapeutic stage, you take your medicine. Why? Why? Huh? Yes, you're sick. That's a great realization. And what's the other realization? The doctor said do it. And you want to get healthy. I'm sick. I want to get healthy. I take the medicine. So in the beginning, bhakti can be like that. You're doing it simply because the doctor says. Just like Srila Prabhupada's definition of sadhana bhakti, I often quote. It's in the book Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers. You read that? So he says sadhana bhakti. Everyone knows what sadhana bhakti is? Devotional service done according to rules and regulations. He said sadhana bhakti means you have to do it because I say. But that is just the beginning phase. By taking your medicine, your health comes back, and then you spontaneously want to do these things. But in the beginning, we have to push ourselves. Follow the 4 regular principles. No meeting, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. Okay. Chant Hare Krishna, minimum 16 rounds a day. Okay, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. But once you pass through that therapeutic stage, you get to the relishing stage. I like doing this. I don't need anyone to force me to do it. I don't need anyone to tell me to do it. I like chanting Hare Krishna. I like remembering Krishna. I like engaging everything in Krishna's service. So it's not that bhakti is simply going to be performed under rules and regulations where the doctor says, take your medicine if you want to get well. You must do this dosage 3 times a day. And therefore, that's your motivation. I got to do it because the doctor said. I have to do it because Srila Prabhupada said. My guru said it. I got to do it. All right. It's not always going to be like that. If you take your medicine, your spiritual health comes back. And I like chanting Hare Krishna. Just like I was watching our friend at the program Thursday with his drum. Yeah, you see, he likes that, right? So one day your chanting of Hare Krishna will be like that. It just comes out naturally. I like it. What if someone says, you must play your drum? Would that be your only motivation? No, I like it. As soon as it was kirtan, the spontaneity comes out. Like in some forms of music. Musicians are aspiring for spontaneity, creativity, not just following the music written on a paper. Like that's anyway.